A new beta build is out this week with changes to Demon Hunter, and Sigil of Silence has been removed from the class tree. Today, we're going to talk about that. Before we get to the video, I just want to say that a lot of my viewers aren't subscribed. We just hit 1,000 subscribers and going higher, so I want to thank everyone for the support. But if you're watching, you see my videos all the time, and you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, it really helps me out. Or if you want to see more Havoc, Demon Hunter, and Vengeance Demon Hunter content in the future, or just more WoW content, hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out. Now enjoy the video. Alright everyone, so we are here on the beta with the new beta build, and some changes have come through for Demon Hunter, both Vengeance and Havoc, and I have to say, just before we get into these, I don't like these changes. They're almost all to the class tree, little tiny bit to the spec tree for Vengeance. Havoc spec tree has not seen any changes, but overall I think the class tree is in a worse spot than before. You feel much more restricted, a lot less choice, and overall it's just going to be worse, in my opinion. We're going to start off by talking about it with Havoc, and then we'll swap over to Vengeance and just kind of discuss what I think about all these changes and everything, and go from there. So, without further ado, here's the new class tree. Now, if you've been following along, also ignore my weak ores, they're kind of showing over top of the thing, but it doesn't really affect anything. If you've been following along, you notice a few things that have changed. So, starting at the top here, we can see that Chaos Nova and Misery are now in the place that Will of the Illidari and Illidari Knowledge once occupied. So, Chaos Nova used to be here, and then this little node here would be down here, and this kind of went off to the side. And then Sigil of Misery was down here with its choice node underneath it. And then this stuff was over here. And you can see, Sigil of Silence just ain't there. There is no Sigil of Silence on the class tree anymore. Now, a few weeks ago, I talked about how Blizzard had brought up how they were looking into changing the amount of CC that specifically Havoc had available to themselves, because they had a lot with Stun, Misery, I don't know, Meta, Stun, Imp, Fell Eruption, whatever. So I was hoping that they would just, move Sigil of Misery, make it so that it was just a Vengeance thing, and then leave Silence in the class tree. They didn't do that, and in fact they actually did things worse than that. So instead of giving Silence in the class tree still, which is a very unique and powerful point of utility, and then putting Misery into the Vengeance class tree, spec tree, they moved Silence and moved Vengeance up into moved Misery up to a spot where we can't really get it anymore. So we'll go into that further in a little bit. But like I said, Illidari Knowledge is here. Will the Illidari is here. This is where Sigil of Silence and Stun used to be. There's a new talent, Soul Sigils. Affecting an enemy with Sigil generates one lesser soul fragment. This is pretty good for Vengeance. For Havoc, it's only good if you're taking Demonic Appetite. If you're not taking Demonic Appetite, there is no point in taking it. Better off putting the point into something else, like Bouncing Glaives or Gyre Warblades or something else like that. But if you are taking Demonic Appetite, essentially what it does is it makes Sigil of Flame generate 60 Fury instead of 30 Fury. So it's just a little bit extra Fury generation. Unknown if that's going to be needed or not right now. But it's there as an option if you're in single target with Demonic Appetite. Could be useful. Realistically, you only use Sigil of Flame if you're out of that Fury generation. You don't have anything to use it on. So, getting a little bit extra Fury off of it is pretty good in the grand scheme of things. From there, they also, got rid of the thing down here. So to go down into Quicken Sigils, you have to take the parry chance now. There is no way of going through down to get Demon Muzzle. You have to take parry chance to get down here, which means that Quicken Sigils is effectively dead for Havoc. Parry chance is useless. This is just wasting a node. At least the Demon Muzzle before had a application, because you'd have a little bit less damage done to you if you want. But parry is just never going to come up in PvE. You're never tanking mobs. You're never being hit by things. Just being able to be hit is just never going to happen. Everything else down here remains the same. Again, you have to go down the Mastery tree to get here, but this isn't that big of a deal. You were going to take Mastery anyways, so this is fine. The biggest thing for Havoc right now is the fact that we have actually lost a lot of our utility. So you can see here that I am still going down to the right to get Will of the Illidari. I think this is a good node to be down here. Them moving them down here has kind of given us more survivability in the form of 4% max health, which is fine. However, them putting Sigil of Misery up here has locked Sigil of Misery behind the hellhole that is Lost in Darkness and these Sigil choice nodes, as well as Charred Warblades, more or less. Effectively right now, you just don't take Sigil of Misery. You can, but you do have to take one of these two nodes, like that, and you end up dropping a lot. So if we go down here, grab everything there, and it'll take, I don't know, pitch black, sure. I'm losing out on a few things, but you can come down here and take it, and it's overall fine. But having to take Lost in Darkness, having to take either of these two sigils, not very good. Also in this scenario, I don't have Bouncing Glaives. I guess you could drop a point out of Will It Already to take it. But realistically, having these here still... Oh, you also just can't take Misery and Defeat. I guess you like want to drop out of Darkness, but you kind of need Darkness. There's a few problems now with how this works. Realistically, again, this choice node is terrible. You'd never want to come through here. But if they just made these 1-point nodes, it would be significantly better. You'd have 2 extra points to work around with, which would be much, much better. The fact that these are 2-point nodes and you kind of have to pass down them now to get into things down here are pretty bad. Realistically, I think this is the worst iteration of the class tree. Yes, we have the choices now, but them taking out Sigil Silence really hurts. It hurts Vengeance as well, not just Havoc. So realistically, I don't like what they did here, and I wish to see them change it. Because they removed Sigil of Silence, and there's lots of worlds where you don't take Sigil of Misery because you have to come down through and get all these 3 talents to come pick it. Realistically, Havoc can be thought of as having less CC than they did before. Fel Eruption is still in that hellhole state where you can't really take it because of how much it costs just in terms of throughput on your tree to take. And now since they removed Silence and put Misery in a really bad spot, it takes a lot to pick it up. You lose a lot of other options that you could get otherwhere in the tree. And really, it's just going down into these things feels terrible. So I don't like what they did here. I think, honestly, just swap Misery back down to where it was, and things will be much better. You can get your Will of the Illidari, you can get some other stuff down here, and it'll be a lot better. Now, in terms of Vengeance, let me just swap over to Vengeance real quick. A lot of the same issues still apply. It just takes too much to come down into the tree itself. Oh, yeah, I don't have any talents right now because they changed everything. But I'll hover over some stuff. So it's the same, you know, for the tree. You want to come down to the Illidari Knowledge. You want the stun still. But to come down and get the stun, you do have to select a few nodes you didn't have to before. We'll just click some things. Got my stun, got my magic DR, got this. So you see here that I've kind of grabbed everything I want to grab already with my stun. The stun generating chaos, soul fragments. And now I can come down here. I can grab this. And already you can see that I'm kind of low on points. So if I wanted to come down and get Sigil Misery, that's it. I don't have Darkness. I don't have Collective Anguish. You basically cannot get Collective Anguish if you want to get the Hunt and Quicken Sigils. There is no possible way of doing that now, which you could before by dropping stuff up here. Just these 2-point nodes are just super restrictive in where they are, especially with these ones. Kind of needing to take them to get in here. Leech is too powerful to drop, and Infernal Armor gates us from Will of the Illidari. Oh, also you want this, so I gotta drop something and get that. And realistically, there's just too many points that are restricted now. They come in too much. You drop too much stuff to get what we had before. So I don't like the changes for either class, either spec, sorry. Now, lastly, we'll talk about where Silent Sigil went. So Silent Sigil went down here. So before this used to just be Roaring Fire. Feldev heals you for up to 50% more based on your missing health. You don't really come down here in AoE. In like a dungeon build because you want access to stuff under it, like, you know, Dark Glare Boon and Ruinous Bulwark and Extended Spikes, stuff like that. You know, Volatile Flame Blood. Really, Roaring Fire isn't crazy. Healing you 50% up more based on your missing health isn't nothing to write home about. However, Silence being here also devalues the right side of the tree even more, because now you can kind of take it without ever having to go into this side here. And you can kind of skip all this stuff. Realistically, the only good, useful thing up here is Fel Flame Fortification. And even then, 6% reduced magic damage while Ilma Aura is active isn't that big of a deal, especially because Vengeance itself is already pretty good at dealing with magic damage. You have the 4% passive DR and the 4% extra health in the class tree now. So it just kind of really devalues up here because you can just get the points to go down into anything you want over here without ever having to invest into Meteoric Strikes or Retaliation or Bulk Extraction / Soul Barrier or Sigil of Chains. Sigil of Chains, by the way, really out of the way. I don't know why you'd ever want that. However, I will say that the new Soul Sigils node has given 1 to 2, I think it's like 2 to 3 more souls per minute for Vengeance, which is pretty good. Gives more Spirit Bomb value, gives more soul stuff down here, and now makes Elysian Decree generate 4 soul shards instead of 3, because of course affecting an enemy with sigil generates 1 lesser soul fragment. You use sigil flame much more rotationally, especially with with quicken sigils and with grabbing flames of fury. So it's a little bit better for them. They gain a little bit more value out of it. Elysian Decree is definitely a little bit more valuable versus Fart of the Flame. I still think Fart of the Flame is better. There's a reason for that. I'm going to have a video next few days about it. But realistically, I don't think this change to the tree has really helped out any specs or classes. I think all it's done is take away value from the class tree and shove it into the Vengeance tree even more, further restricting them from taking these points up here, devaluing this side of the tree. It's made it so that Havoc has much less CC than before, losing out on a really useful piece in Sigil of Silence, which is a very uncommon way of dealing with things in M+. Realistically, only Boomy has an AoE Silence, and now it is just Boomy again that has it. Havoc no longer has access to it. Again, you know, everyone's unhappy with these. No one's really excited to see all these things happen. Vengeance being locked out of Collective Anguish is a big damage loss for them. Us being forced into 2-point nodes here to go down into our capstones is a big no for me. You just waste so many points, and it's just so hard to come up and take Sigil Misery because of all these other points you have to invest things into. Realistically, I hope they walk back these changes a little bit, put Misery down here where Soul Sigils was if they're not going to give us Silence back, which please give us Silence back. But really just moving Sigil of Misery back down to where it was will go a long way in fixing this issue because people will actually be able to access it. So that's it for today. I'll have more content coming out over the next few days. Tier sets are on beta. So you can do an M0 that I might get done. There's also a few other topics I want to discuss in the class trees, going over a few different things. So if you're looking forward to that, please consider subscribing. We are over 1,000 subs now, which is crazy, and I'm super kind of blown away that we've ever hit this. I just want to thank everyone for their support, and let me know down below what you think of this Sigil of Silence change. I think it's terrible. I don't like it, but you know, let me know your thoughts. Leave a like, and I appreciate everybody. I'll see you guys next time.